Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Ms. Zaveri. Thank you so much for traveling down all the way from Dubai.
I also live here, so I go once a week for my work, both places. So
great to have you here today. And I've been reading quite a lot about you and what a vibrant career you've had. There is a book that my children and I read together as a routine. It's called Stories of Rebel Girls. And I really think you could picture in there. I could picturize you in there. Your story is so vibrant. So you joined the family business. You did not step in as an owner, but you started up as a trainee, and then you worked your rope up, right? Since then, you've led NRB Bearings to so much growth and change. We'd love to hear how difficult it was for you as a woman in the manufacturing sector, and what are the challenges that you faced?
So it's interesting because I'm at a gathering of family businesses, but although my father founded the company, I was the first family member to actually work in the company, apart from him. And I didn't join to work there. There was a whole nother story behind it, but there was some family issue that he had at that point of time with some family members, and he was worried. And he said to me that you're not even willing to come and work in my company. And I've done so much for you. So I was supposed to go back to the US where I had done my undergraduate degree to study law, which was my passion. And I said, okay, I'll come in. I'll join your family business, but I'm only joining it to learn about it. And I want to learn from the shop floor. Because if I'm coming to learn so that you have somebody there as legacy, so you're not so worried that you built something and you may lose it for some reason, that's where I want to work. So I did actually join as a shop floor apprentice trainee. I didn't just join. And in fact, I'm the only management person in the whole company who was on the rolls 2 years later than I joined, because management trainees are different, but apprentice trainees are like kept off the rolls for the first 2 years. So I think that as a woman, definitely I had a hard time. I wasn't an engineer. I had graduated in urban planning, totally different, and demographics and social anthropology, culture. Culture was my specialty, and I could see this was a very hostile culture, okay, for sure, to women and to family, which was, in my opinion, one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I believe that women have a hard time in certain industries, and it's no different from being an Indian in a white company, American, Swedish, German. It's no different from being a North Indian in a very typical South Indian Brahmin company where they just close their doors and everyone else, and the list goes on. So fundamentally, almost every professional at some point of time is an outsider struggling. So I just think that it hones you, it makes you prepare better, it makes sure that your achievements have to come before your position. And I think that's always a great thing, and I think it worked for me. It made me just work harder and be more diligent.
That's great to know. You're finding the silver lining there as well. You took your challenges and worked your way up. That's great to know. There are still family businesses or businesses in general with little to no women representation at the top leadership. What is your perspective about such companies? What do you think they're missing out on?
As I was saying, that the reason I need my piece of paper is because she's going to ask me one of my most favorite questions, right? And fundamentally,
she has some good statistics to share with us.
It is.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of research on this, okay? I've actually done more research on this than probably anything else. Why do women make better CEOs. So first I'm telling you that women do make better CEOs, and I can prove it financially, okay? And I want Barclays to do the same study that Credit Suisse does every year. But the fact is that corporations with women leaders post significantly better results. I'm talking about women CEOs. I'm not talking about just a couple of women or thousands of women like the IT companies have for totally different reasons. The ROI is better, lower debt to equity. My company is like what? Never crossed 0.47. Until I read this, I didn't realize why. And mostly it's 0.3 or 2 or something like that. But there's some very interesting data, and I think all of you will find it extremely, extremely enlightening. The market is willing to give a 19% premium price-to-book multiple for companies with a female CEO because such companies have 19% higher return on equity. The average ROE of such companies is 19% higher. The net debt to equity ratio is 10% lower, and the list will go on, but better average growth. Women-run companies have traditionally 3% higher growth than the rest, which are all run by men. And the most interesting thing that I discovered is if you make a virtual portfolio, okay, and you just blindly invest in a Fortune 500 company that's run by a woman CEO, and blindly take out your money in your virtual portfolio, when the woman CEO is no longer there and a male CEO is in place, you will make, you know how much more money? This exercise was run from 2010 to 2019, and it was 20.6% higher returns. So this magic only happens when you have minimum 10% of the CXO level, CEO level, or the board level to be women. And we're not talking about taking somebody in because they're family, okay? We're talking about taking someone in. If they're family, they should have proven themselves somewhere else before they were. But in any case, if you have 10% women in the absolute top leadership position, this is what'll happen. Does that convince you?
Yes, that's some great statistics. I think before investing into some companies, maybe we should
that's why
have a
you
look
need
into
more
our
women,
statistics.
not for any other reason.
And as a woman who has worked her way up in a family business that's listed, what would your advice be to women or young ladies who are looking to take up leadership positions in businesses in general?
Now, I actually told her not to ask me this question.
Oh,
I
did
said
you?
I'm sitting with a huge number of men and huge number of families, and my point of view on this is extremely contrarian.
Do you want to skip it in that case? We can skip to the next question. Why don't we make it to youngsters who are looking to step into the family business?
No, what I was saying is if a woman joins a family business, or even, I would say, a young man who is facing a lot of challenge, and because many times, people come into a business which is difficult and which isn't necessarily all working fine, and you put a lot of your heart and your soul and your heartburn into it. But my first advice is actually something that my dear childhood friend Anand Mahendra told me once. He said the first thing to do is always to secure yourself. Put your money in something that's completely yours, like he set up along with Uday Kotak Mahindra Bank, right? Then put your heart and soul into a family business, because you always either need to have some strength behind you, not just of conviction, but also probably of your own wealth. And secondly, I always say if you have some really super bright idea, and there are lots of people opposing you, you probably need to incubate that and start it as a separate business and also be in your family business. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
That's what I tell youngsters anyway, who are very bright and have good professional backgrounds and want to join their family business.
That's some great advice for many youngsters in this room. Thank you for that. And as we wrap up, I'll just ask you a very personal, forward-looking question. With all the great work that you have done, how would you like your legacy to be remembered, either if it is within your family or within the business environment in general, business community in general? How would you like your legacy to be remembered?
So you're talking about NRB Bearings
Yes.
and what I... So just like a lot of you here, I had a lot of challenges. All of us in family businesses do struggle with challenges. And I could not really build the company as big as I wanted to be till now, because we did have a family settlement recently. And for assorted reasons, I couldn't grow it as aggressively as we really felt it, and give it its true place in the world. But what did we do? We built a foundation, which I think is very, very special. So one of the things that I think and I hope I will be remembered for is setting up an R&D center. In 2001, I set up an R&D center for bearings, for automobile applications. Now it just sounds like everybody is putting R&D as their back end here, but really it was something that I had to fight and struggle for at that time. Our company, within 5 years of that, tripled in size. We got Daimler as our customer, Daimler Truck. We got Volvo as our customer, Renault. Nobody believed that an Indian company could set up its own R&D and do this kind of design engineering. Today, the Mercedes e-Drive has all our bearings. I mean, you can't find any Mercedes car that doesn't have our bearings. You would be hard-pressed to find a BMW that doesn't. Definitely through their tier 1, we are in Lamborghini and Maserati. We're still not in Ferrari, but many people tell me if you're in Lambo and you're in Maserati, it's fine not to be in Ferrari. But what I did, and that's to answer your question, is I tried to build something that could very easily allow us to exponentially grow whenever it was possible. Actually, also built one of the most profitable companies for its size. So size bothered my father. And therefore, we have 19% EBITDA, and what I would love to do now is really do the last bit, and that's what we're focusing on. Make this company really large, too. And that is exactly what we're going to do in the next 5 years. But I do hope we'll go down in history. Well, we bought back our shareholding from the Timken company because they wanted 51%. We exercised our right of first refusal, and because of R&D, we could just buy back our stake because we were not dependent on any foreign company because we had built our own R&D, even though we had technology from them. Our R&D spanned a much larger product portfolio than they had. And as a result, I think we have shown to the world that Indian companies can do amazing next generation design. That's what I want to be remembered.
And I've also read about how you brought about digitization within the company as soon as you joined in. And
well, I think that another hallmark that we have, which I hope will continue, is we follow the demographics of India, which means 30% of our company is under the age of 30. And that's my personal passion. I just love, love, love to work with young people. Many times my employees ask me, you're so hard on us, but you're so understanding when one of those young kids makes a mistake. And I said, they're not afraid to make mistakes. You need to make a lot more mistakes rather than hide your errors. And I just love the culture that we have in terms of its vibrancy and how the young and the old give and take from each other. And I like that we attract young people. We don't have a hierarchical culture. We have an extremely inclusive culture. And the one thing that NRB does is it gives its most difficult challenges to the youngest people. And there was a young man who joined us from Jaguar Land Rover, and it was his first job after his first job. So it was his second job. And I gave him Daimler and Audi. And I said, go to Germany, set up there. I'm there with you. But a lot of the people in the company said, you're giving our least experienced person in the IB team, international business team. And I said, because he won't make a mistake in terms of he won't give up on the customer. He will make sure that we are successful. Because if you have an old hand there, there's a lot of skepticism. This is too difficult, it may not happen. And that, I think, is another legacy that I want to leave behind, that you need to have as many young people as you can. In India, mostly parents don't let their children do what they want. I once had 58 engineers in a room, and I said, which of you took engineering because you love it? And not one hand went up, okay? Not one hand. And I said, here, there are 3 things that I can give you. You can always choose your boss. In our company, anyone can ask to be transferred. They don't even have to say that they may not have an issue with the boss, okay? It might just not be great, exciting dynamics, right? The other thing that people can do, if they come and say, I have a great idea, or the company should be doing this, why aren't you doing this? We say, okay, set up a team, we'll give you resources, do it. So that, I think, is something that I find very exciting, and I hope my company culture will continue to be that way.
It's great how you place your trust on the youngsters and how you want them to lead. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights with us, and thank you for joining us here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.